Chief, I have to say that your impact on the local community has been very apparent, because when we put out the question for who we wanted to be the guest speaker this year at our Seabee Ball, the resounding answer that we, the Seabee Ball Committee, and everyone got back was Más Chivaninhos. So I think that speaks volumes to the impact that you've had here on Rhoda. And without any further build-up than that, Más Chivaninhos.
Thank you, Commander, for that introduction. Good evening to all our distinguished visitors. Thank you very much for coming out here to help us celebrate tonight. To our Civil Engineer Corps officers and our Seabees, happy birthday! Hoorah! Before I get started, I want to take a moment to say thanks to a lot of unsung heroes out there. Our spouses and family members on the home front. By taking on this big responsibility, you allow your service member to focus on their job. I know you can appreciate the importance of their mission, and we appreciate your continued support. There's a familiar Seabee motto out there, and I think it applies to you as well. The difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a little longer. So thank you. How about a round of applause for our family members? I'm going to start with a little story. There's an Air Force officer and he goes to heaven. St. Peter at pearly gates. And St. Peter asks him, so is there anything in your lifetime that you might have done that warrants your admittance into heaven? The Air Force officer replies, why, yes. I once went into a bar with 4 of my pilot friends, and we saw 2 Seabees at the bar raising hell. Well, being a good Air Force officer, I went over there and I told that Seabee to settle down. When he refused, I said it a little more stern, and then I slapped him across the face. St. Peter said, that sounded like a good idea. How long ago was this? About 5 minutes. My friend should be here shortly. In case anybody is wondering, I'm not an original Seabee. I didn't join until 1987. I'm thankful to be your guest speaker tonight. I only hope to live up to the task. Tonight we celebrate 72 years filled with major accomplishments. The idea for our inception came after the unfortunate tragedy at Wake Island by our founder, Admiral Ben Morrell. Our first task of World War II was the island of Bora Bora, and then on everywhere from the Pacific to the Atlantic, leaving behind 111 major airstrips, 441 piers, 2,258 ammo magazines, not to mention a slew of other facilities. In Korea, we landed at Incheon, which came to be known as the most brilliant amphibious assault in history, battling 30-foot tides and a stiff current under continuous enemy fire. It was during the Korean War that the Navy found a need for an airstrip in the Philippines. Well, they initially called up some civilian contractors and told them to go out to Seabee Point in the Philippines. The civilian contractors came back and they looked at the mountainous terrain and the jungle and they said, can't be done. Well, they put the Seabees out there and they blew that mountain in half and they made over 2 miles of runway. Seabee Point turned out to be one of the largest earth-moving projects on Earth, equivalent to that of the Panama Canal, that was completed in 4.5 years. In Antarctica, the Seabees distinguished themselves by constructing a 6,000-foot ice runway. In Vietnam, we built camps for the Special Forces. In 1971, the Seabees began their largest peacetime construction project on Diego Garcia, lasting 11 years. In Beirut in '83, constructing of artillery-resistant quarters for the Marines. In my 26 years, I have seen some of these accomplishments myself. In 1990, with NMCB 133, I witnessed the construction of the Fleet Hospital Project and helicopter pad project in Guam. In 1991, here in Rota, for Operation Provide Comfort, we took and put our whole TOA and seats on a ship, floated it over to Turkey, convoyed 500 miles across Turkey into Zaku, Iraq. We rebuilt runways, roads, drilled water wells, built a 1,000-man tent camp, all for the Kurdish refugees in 2 months. And we turned around, we came back, we retrograded all our equipment, and went back to work like nothing happened. In Al Jabar, Kuwait in 2003 with NMCB 74, building a 23-acre concrete parking apron in 3 months, placing over 1,000 cubic yards of concrete a night. That's equivalent to over 22 football fields. 2004, the pre-building of enough reinforced security bunkers and then setting them all up in one night to cordon off the city of Fallujah while under fire. And then later, going back out there and building 3 miles of berm, again, under fire. In 2009, with NMCB 74, a 10-man detachment installed 10 acres of AM2 aluminum airfield matting in the northern regions of Afghanistan, and the senior person was a second class. In 2011, with NMCB 1 in Afghanistan, the building of several combat outposts under fire. Unfortunately, these accomplishments have not come without a price. From my research from the NCF page in 2002, it stated that 375 Seabees have been killed in action during wartime since World War II. However, I doubt this number accounts for the 79 from Vietnam, to include CM3 Marvin Shields, since this was categorized as a conflict. And I know it did not account for the 21 from Iraq and Afghanistan. Also, the 3 CEC officers from the Philippines in 1974, to include Captain Thomas Mitchell. And let's not forget Steelworker Second Class Robert Stephan in 1985. So let's be proud to celebrate, however, never forget the cost that was paid for our freedom. What we have accomplished in our past is not any different than what we are doing today. We continue to live up to our heritage. We still go to remote places and build facilities. You might see our force shrinking, however, the demand signal for our service remains high. Unfortunately, the time to plan these projects seems to be shrinking as well. So what we need to do is be sharp and be ready. We need to be trained in all our skills and ready to execute. Looking forward, it would be wise of us and our younger generation of Seabees out there to continually look for new technology, for green technology, and to build cheaper, faster, with less labor. I have no doubt that we will make this happen because I know we have the best personnel in the Seabees. Our personnel are not just from all over our great nation, but they're from other nations as well. This great diversity is our biggest asset. It helps us think outside the box. It helps us adapt to complete our missions and continually changing environments we work in. Where are all the Chief Petty Officers out there? What is a big part of our initiation, transition, induction, phase 2 training that we go through? How about taking care of our personnel? All right. Taking care of our personnel is what I was looking for. Taking care of our personnel means getting them the training they need, the right tools they need to get the job done, the right positions to balance their careers, help them achieve their short and long-term goals. In addition, we need to know each of them on a personal level. They are not just another tool in our toolbox. All right, here's another question for the Chiefs. Where do the Chiefs belong? On the deck plates, thank you. Or in Seabee lingo, on the job site, on the shop floor, in the yard, right? Easier said than done, huh? We spend a lot of time behind the computers. However, I feel this is where we can make the biggest difference. Chiefs engaged with troops work wonders. Everyone counts and is counted on to complete their jobs. So if you're an LS in the TOA yard counting tent pegs, a PS in the admin shop submitting paperwork for someone's record, a CM in the shop completing 3M checks, or on the job site, everyone from 08 to E1 makes a difference, and it's up to you on what kind of difference you want to make. Talking about making a difference, in December we had the opportunity to honor a passing comrade. EAC retired Gus Dowling. Gus was the kind of person you read about in history books. Gus was on the island of Corregidor for 4 years, most of them behind enemy lines. After that, he engaged the Japanese on the island of Okinawa. After World War II, he went to college. After college, he enlisted in the United States Seabees as an SV surveyor. Gus made many deployments. He went to Vietnam for a year. Gus was a part of many construction projects on board Rota Spain. Many of them are still being utilized today. He probably never thought that these facilities he was building would last as long as they have. He probably just thought he needed to do the best job he could do. And that's a testament to the kind of work we are known for. Speaking of hard work, where are all the alpha dogs out there? Now that's what I'm talking about. All right, how many Seabee speeches have you ever heard a speaker talk about C's? Or should I say, how many people remember a Seabee speech? All right, 1987, my first duty station with 133. I arrived in Okinawa and found a fleet of 1968 2.5-ton trucks with multi-fuel engines. They weren't just in Okinawa, they were on every deployment site I went to. Not to mention R60, the base motor pool in Homeport, as it was called then. As a matter of fact, we had a lot of old equipment from the Cold War and Vietnam era. Even our communication gear was old. When I was a communicator, my radio was a PRC 77. Has anybody ever heard of those? They were non-encrypted. We had to use authentication books to send and receive messages. Not to mention they were like 20 pounds and about the size of a case of beer. Thank goodness for technology. In 2005, I was a chief stationed at R36, the base motor pool, as it was called then. We had equipment that was on average of 30 years old. We found ways to keep it running. When they didn't make parts for it anymore, we had to machine shop manufacture parts. We had to steel shop, repair parts. We did what we could to keep that cease rolling safely down the road. Because of our continued service in Iraq and Afghanistan, we were able to receive the war dollars that helped support the purchase of new equipment, that supported the equipment that we had sent into Iraq and Afghanistan. Now we have some pretty nice equipment. In 2012, we're out of Iraq. 2014, we're supposed to be out of Afghanistan. Bottom line, no more war dollars for new equipment. Why did I just tell you all that? From my perspective, the equipment that we have now, we can expect to have in the next 20 or 30 years. So we have to take care of this equipment in our TOA like it's the last we're ever going to get. So for everyone out there who operates or maintains seats, or utilizes or manages items in the table allowance, I would hope you would think about this, because how you take care of it now is going to make a difference to those that have to use it later. And now, I leave you with a short story from my youth. When I was about 10, my father tasked me with mowing the front yard. Well, as you can imagine, on any 10-year-old, it's probably not the highest priority. So I hurried out and mowed the lawn, called my dad over and said, "Dad, I'm done." He took one look at it, can tell I did it in a hurry. He looked at me and he said, "Son, in life, everything you do, big or small, you sign your name to it. And this is what people think of you. So look at that lawn and tell me, is this what you want people to think of you?" So needless to say, I went back and did the lawn right. So my message to you out there is whatever you are tasked with, big or small, be proud enough to sign your name to it like John Hancock signed the Declaration of Independence. If you don't take anything else from my speech tonight, I hope you can take this. Do your best at every task, big or small. Take care of your equipment. More importantly, take care of your personnel. I'm proud to say I'm a Seabee and I've served with all of you. Thank you for your service to our great nation. God bless, and I hope you all have a good evening.
So Master Chief, for those wonderful words, a very small token of our appreciation, and a special thanks to B1 Gunzel, and was anyone else involved in the manufacturing of this wonderful little memento? Sorry? So I think it's B1 Gunzel.
I did it.
Awesome job. And just so everybody knows, this saw that's here is going to be used to make the first cut in our cake this evening.